Hello out there in LinkedIn land. This is Frank Data D. Lorenzo with your 15-minute quick launch live today. Keep in mind, this session that we do, these weekly sessions, mostly weekly, are here to really share some good ideas, concepts, educate you a bit, give you some food for thought on how to be better at being data driven and what to consider in doing so. We talked about everything from the value of the data model, a lot about Power BI visualizations, best practices of building a Power BI report. But today we're going to talk about something a little different. And that is basically, let's not forget about the value of Microsoft Excel. How can you leverage Excel as a tool with a well-governed best practices data model? So I'm going to show some examples of that today. And keep in mind, we love questions, we love dialogue. Please, morning, LinkedIn user, to add questions in the comment pane and we'll respond to them as best we can, as soon as we can. In fact, I'll promise I may not answer every question right in the session. 15 minutes goes by quickly, but I will make sure we get back to you with an answer. Good morning, Jeff. So I think that's a little bright. Let me shut that. That might be a little better. So best practices data model with Excel. Questions in the comments? Show of hands. Show of hands. I can't see your hands. If you use Power BI, please put a P in the comments. If you use Microsoft Excel, please put a T. And I ask that question because when I do presentations discussing, business intelligence, data analytics, I'll ask the crowd how many people are using Power BI, and I'll get a handful of folks to raise their hands, either dabbling in it, it's fairly new. If I ask how many people are using Excel, they'll just laugh. It's an obvious question. All the hands go up. So if you think about it this way, Excel has a place. Where is it on you becoming data driven and maturing up that data journey, if you will? Good morning, Joe. Hey, I see Excel out there. Perfect. So let's jump in and get started. I am going to share quick slides so you can see them. How does Excel fit your data driven journey? Let's take a quick look, and then we're going to do an example of it. Okay. So if you consider your data journey and how you evolve that, the end goal here is to mature up to where we're leveraging and have a strong data culture, machine learning, artificial intelligence, kind of baked into Microsoft Azure and the Power BI platform. But most of us start here. We get our ERP and we're living with the reports or generating reports directly out of our ERP system, typically rows and columns. And then we evolve up a bit and we start using tools like tabulated reports and Microsoft Excel. I would submit Excel can be every bit as impactful and valuable to folks on this data journey by leveraging well-governed data. So we'll show what I mean by that in just a few moments. And that often gets overlooked. Many times we're exporting and manually manipulating data in Excel, which most of us would agree, I believe, is not the most effective use of Excel. And then how we're going to show just a bit on how you kind of start putting your toe in the water, if you will, start getting into visualization of data, kind of go from the comfort zone of Excel up to Power BI and what that might look like. So I have a note that my audio is not great, so let me see if I can fix that very quickly. I think I know what that might be, folks. My apologies. Technology. I believe this will fix it. Whoever sent me that message, let me know if that made any difference, please, because this session is not that effective if you cannot hear me. So thank you. All right, let's get back to sharing that screen. Okay, so here we are on our journey, and this is what we see today, the current state of reporting. So the current state of reporting, and this is what most of us still live with, is we have our ERP. For us, that would be JD Edwards, Viewpoint Vista, NetSuite. CRM, the example I have here is Salesforce. I mention those because those solutions we've got a very well vetted, well governed data model already pre built out of the box. So just for informational share. But
we take data, maybe we use an API to extract some data and we bring it into Excel as a tool, or we do some manual exports. But however, we're taking the data from our other sources, our ERP, or in this case, CRM, Salesforce is the example. We create all these siloed spreadsheets of data, and it's ripe for errors. It's prone to errors as we're manually manipulating those spreadsheets. And this becomes unwieldy to manage. How do you manage all these spreadsheets? In fact, what we hear from our customers, we love Excel and we really dislike Excel. And if I delve into that a little bit, what they love about Excel is the what if scenarios, ease of use, ability to pivot table and manipulate data. What they don't like is the fact that someone can put in a wrong formula, transpose a number, export something incorrectly, and then it becomes problematic. So, how do you trust the information? And my final slide on this before we jump into Excel is meant to be a comedic way to illustrate what I hear from our clients. All hail the great and powerful spreadsheet wizard. My, his spreadsheets are amazing, even if we don't know what it all means. Or heck, even if these numbers are even right. So that's something that we hear and we see often until our clients start taking a different approach and using a data model. So let's pop into Excel. Now, just in the interest of time, what I've done is I've opened up a blank Excel sheet and I've logged into the model. So what you see over here in the pivot tables is the data model that I've been discussing with all the different components, the facts and the dimensions that I may need to create a report. Now, what we're going to do here today, folks, is we're going to create something basic in Excel. Then I'm going to flip over to Power BI and kind of show, bridge, if you will, how I can do that same kind of reporting or similar in Power BI and then start to visualize it, start moving that way, moving up the maturity chain. So let's take a look. If I wanted to, say, pull some job cost measures, and I want you to take note of what you see here and then what you see when I go over to Power BI. Spoiler alert, it's going to be the exact same because it's coming from the same exact source of data. I'm not pulling from multiple formulas and multiple places, and that can be huge for data governance. So let's say I want to see my actual bill job to date. There we go, simple. And I want to add maybe my cost job to date. You see all the measures in this particular model we have out of the box. So actual cost job to date. All right, that's getting good, but I want to see that by some dimension, maybe the contract number and description, for example. So I come over to the contract, and again, a good data model is little conveniences built in, like the concatenation of the description and the number. So I can just say contract number description in one selection. Okay, all right, we're getting somewhere. Now let's say I want to add maybe the project manager. Now I can scroll through all my rich elements here, or I could just take the easy way and type project manager. And I like names, always better to work with. So I add the project manager name. Now that doesn't look very usable, does it? But with the flick of my mouse here, I make something that's collapsible and pretty easy in my pivot table. And I'm just getting warmed up. We're just scratching the surface, folks. What you can build in Excel can be complete financial statements, GL and job cost, inventory, commitment, purchasing, ad hoc reports. Really, the sky's the limit, as they say. But I want you to take note for a moment. Aaron Rodgers, the Sea Harbor restaurant job. Um, and we have the actual build amount, actual cost amount. And it was brought to my attention that you couldn't hear me because of the audio issue I had in the beginning. It was the wrong speaker that the system selected, so my error. But just in short, what we're talking about today is on your data journey, where does Excel fit? And my question to the crowd was, I said, show of hands. Obviously, can't see your hands. If you use Power BI, love to see a P in the chat. If you use Excel, put an E. And guess what? If you use both, PE is okay. But when I speak at conferences, if I ask that question, show of hands, a third of the room might raise their hands for Power BI. And if I delve into it, they're starting to dabble with it. It's fairly new. If I ask who uses Excel, people laugh because it's almost an obvious, and then all the hands go up. So Excel can be a very comfortable way. There's two things, two benefits. Comfortable way to continue to move up that journey and becoming more data driven. And it's a tool that most people really rely on and leverage. Let's use it better. And that's where the data model comes in. So Here we built something just quick in Excel. You turn that off so you just get just a quick feel for all the rich data that's available. If I were to scroll, it goes on and on and on. So a lot of measures, all the dimensions like job, equipment, vendor, customer, business unit, so forth. But now let's take a look in Power BI. So keep that in mind. Sea Harbor restaurant job, build 38, cost 28. We'll just remember that. Now, we have a blank screen in Power BI, and here's the same data model. It should already look a bit familiar. You'll see if I go to job details, the same measures, the same folders. And today I'm going to do something that we're familiar with if we're used to Excel. I'm going to build a matrix right here. Okay. And I'm going to say, okay, all right, from that, I would like to see my build job to date. Expand this just a hair so we can see the fields. That's cool, but I also want to see my cost job to date. So now I see my build and my costs. I know it's a little small on the screen, but hopefully we can see it. I'll expand it once this is built. And now I want to break that down by something. So I'm going to come up to my contract like we did before. Looks familiar, right? Concatenated field. Okay, we're getting somewhere. And you see my rows here, my values here. Somewhat similar to how Excel works, so not completely new or foreign. And then I know I want to go to the job file because that's where the project manager happens to reside. I'm going to grab the project manager name. Now that doesn't give me anything really usable once again. So like I did in Excel, I move that up and now it's collapsible. Now you see one thing with demonstration data, and you really catch, data issues when you look at data through the lens of Power BI. I see the blank is the bulk here. So if I zoom in on Aaron Rodgers, you see the Sea Harbor job, same build, same cost. Now let's take a Microsoft function here. I'm going to Control C and Control V. That easy. And I'm going to take my other screen. And right here, I want to start visualizing data. So show me this as a clustered column chart. Now, again, because the demo data is poor, I'm going to do one thing here. I'm going to come in and say, I would like to do a filter, please. And I'm going to filter out anything that is blank. Whoop, is not blank. Apply that filter. And now you see the data is a little more usable. Now, again, this is just a quick example, but toe in the water. We've had several customers say that. They look at data like this in Power BI. In fact, one example I can give, and we're down to 2 minutes, so I'm going to do it quickly. It was one of our large equipment, our construction companies on JD Edwards. And the story was the equipment managers were used to looking at Excel, in other words, data like this. And they would miss trouble spots. They had to really hunt in the data. So what they started doing was just putting a basic gauge. And the gauge, maybe something like this, had red, yellow, green. They saw something in red, it immediately attracted their eye. We are visual as human creatures, and they would draw their attention to that and then address it. So the comment I loved was 11 equipment managers now became like mini controllers and on top of their data. So let me stop sharing for a moment. Come back. Okay. So in a very quick example, and that just barely, I see PE. Perfect. You can hear me. Yes, much better. Thank you. Apologize for the audio issues out there, team. But if you want to talk about any of this further, this is what our passion is. This is what we do. I hope in this short time together, we gave you some ideas on how you could better leverage Excel and how you could take Power BI and make it comfortable for your team to adopt by seeing what they're familiar with in Excel and then moving. So next week, join us out in QuickLaunch Live. We're going to talk about all the perspectives that make up modules. So a job cost perspective, inventory perspective. What value is there in having all of those in one data model? Hint, if I want to easily create a report where I'm pulling receivables, payables, project, and commitment information, I can do it with zero formula creation. I just need to know as the business user the data that I would like. So let me scan and see if there's any questions. I don't see any new questions out there. Do me a favor, if you watch this, post on demand. If you watch it on the recording on LinkedIn, if you put a 3 in the chat, that'll tell me or tell our team you'd like to just discuss, whatever LinkedIn Live you're watching in more detail. And again, we'd be happy to do it. We're right at 8:15, folks. I want to thank you for your time today. Again, my name's Frank Data Lorenzo. We are Preferred Strategies, and we are all about the data. So thank you again. Have a great day. Bye, everybody.